It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. You can reach us on X, formerly Twitter, Michael P. Leahy. Watch us live on YouTube. We are joined on our Zoom Newsmaker line right now by the greatest national political journalist in the country, our good friend, Neil W. McCabe. Good morning, Neil.
Very, very happy to be with you, Michael. It's there's this anticipation, right? There's this buzz across the country because it's like this archetype, right? The return of the king, the restoration of Trump to his throne, and everybody said it would cause chaos and anger, and instead it's joy and healing, and everyone is coming together. And it doesn't, it's imagine in October if Trump said he was going to send the 82nd Airborne to invade Greenland and take it from Denmark. Everybody like, what is he talking about? Now it's like, great idea. Let's do it. The Democrats saying, let's do it. So it's a beautiful time, Michael.
Neil, I saw a poll from a group called Patriot Polling. Now, you and I worked together in 2016 with the late great Pat Caddell on state-based polling. This group, Patriot Polling, was started 2 years ago by a bunch of high school seniors who are now at elite Ivy League schools and a couple other schools. And they have conducted a poll. They actually did a poll released November 3rd. And that poll showed state by state that Trump would win 312 to 226. So pretty good. They've conducted a poll last week of Greenlanders, 400 Greenlanders. I don't know how they did it, but nonetheless, they have a pretty good track record.
Presumably in the language of their people.
Greenlandic, of course, right? But they claim that 57% of Greenlanders want to join America right now. I think if they'd taken that poll in October, it would have not been 57%. But today, it is. Illustrates your point.
I'd love to see the crosstabs, Mike. I bet you. I bet you, black men, it's over 85%.
Very good, Neil.
Yes, sir.
I have a theory, and the theory is that all of the Democrat leaders in Congress and the regime media, and particularly those at German-owned Politico, are frozen in time. They think it's 2018, and they're going to smear the Trump nominees for cabinet positions in the same way they attempted to smear Brett Kavanaugh. I don't know if you watched any of the hearings, Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi. They were not having it. Your thoughts on how the Democrat senators performed in their attempts to smear the Trump nominees?
Well, yeah, I believe that we're in the Obama-Trump presidential paradigm, and the Nixon-Reagan presidential paradigm went from 68 to 2008. And what happened is Obama recognized that the Republican rhetoric and the Republican politicians and the elite, it was all corrupt, and it was completely disengaged from, what Nixon and Reagan were trying to do. And that's, decentralize power, try to rein in the power of Washington, D.C., cut taxes, cut regulation, all of those things that people talked about in the sort of the Reagan Nixon era, right? And so, but it had just, by George W. Bush, it had become stale. And of course, you had the housing crisis and the war in Iraq. And Obama recognized that these guys are completely clueless. And he ran circles around them. He ran circles around them in 2008. He ran circles around them in 2012. And for the 8 years he was in the White House, the Republicans kept using what I call the old spells, right? Like the old rhetorical tricks. And Obama's like, go ahead. You want to shut down the government? Go ahead. I don't care. I'll shut it down for a month. I'll shut it down for 6 months, you clowns. It's like, and so when I see these guys going up against, the Trump nominees, and it's like that old black magic doesn't work anymore. Who won the 2012 or 2020 election? It's like, who cares? The man who said the 2020 election was stolen was elected president of the United States in 2024, and the Democratic nominee got 5 or 6 million votes less than Biden. And like, where did they come from? Where did they go? No one knows. And so you're telling me, that, it's like, it's one thing to say, okay, Biden got 12 million more votes than Obama. Okay, sure. Maybe he did. Maybe that is possible somehow. But it's like the Harris campaign was like, they had, $2 billion, right? They didn't have COVID restrictions. They didn't have anything. They had all the press. They had all the celebrities. They had every possible advantage. They had incumbency and everything else. And they got less votes than a guy who campaigned from his basement. And so, people are watching this stuff and they're like, they start to turn the Democrats off. That's the problem for the Democrats.
Yeah,
people are just turning them off, and we just don't want to hear your garbage anymore.
I've heard that for a long, for decades, and I'm just tired of it. Do you have any new thoughts? Now, speaking of new thoughts, Joe Biden delivered his farewell address last night, and I had the misfortune of watching it, and clearly he didn't have a new thought. What he tried to do, it seems to me, is he tried to pretend that Joe Biden in 2025 was the same as Dwight Eisenhower in January of 1961, when Dwight Eisenhower, in his farewell address, warned America about the military-industrial complex. When Biden says, well, Facebook is getting rid of their fact checkers, and that's bad, and watch out for all these technology oligarchs, you look at what he said and you compare it to what he's done, giving the Medal of Freedom to George Soros, the worst of the oligarchs. It doesn't add up. Your thoughts on that, Neil W. McCabe?
Well, in some ways, it was very similar to what Eisenhower was doing, because Eisenhower was unsuccessful getting his vice president to succeed him. And Eisenhower had cut the defense budget really viciously. And Eisenhower was of the mind that, like, listen, we have the A-bomb. So if anybody really upsets us, we'll just nuke them into the Stone Age. And otherwise, we don't even need an army. We don't need a navy. And so he significantly cut the defense budget. And this is why John F. Kennedy in 1960 was able to run a campaign, even though he was a liberal Democrat, but he was able to run as a hardcore, strong military national security guy and make the argument that although Eisenhower was the great hero 15 years ago in World War II, his stewardship of the country had left us vulnerable to attack from the Russians, the so-called missile gap. And so, in a way, Eisenhower, when he made his farewell address, what he was kind of saying was, hey, my vice president lost, so basically my third term was rejected by the voters, and I was blamed for weakening our military. And so on my way out the door, I'm going to tell everybody, oh, yeah, well, the military is really dangerous, and the military is actually a problem in this country. And I don't want to stretch it too close, but I kind of feel that's what Biden's going out the door,
Neil,
and he's like saying, hey, maybe in a few years it'll all make sense.
It won't, but yeah. Hey, hang through the break if you would. We got more to talk about.
Sure, man.
Your predictions of what's going to happen next week.
I love predictions, Michael.
Back with Neil W. McCabe after this.
John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just 1 scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, TIREGET.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. We are joined on our Zoom Newsmaker line right now by our very good friend, the best national political reporter in the country, Neil W. McCabe, reports at Red State Now, previously reported with us at the Star News Network. Neil, next week, really, we're looking at this. Well, it's actually now, it'll be 3 days, 23 hours, 41 minutes, and 30 seconds, and Donald J. Trump will become the 47th president of the United States on Monday at noon Eastern Time. What kind of predictions do you have for the first week of Donald Trump's second administration?
I think you're going to see just a shock and awe of executive orders, executive actions, of appointments that don't require confirmation. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of undoing. I think Biden may have had, 20 or 30 executive orders on his first day. Most of them were undoing Trump policies. And so I believe what we're going to see is we're going to see an undoing of the undoing. And, it's just, Biden just he says Cuba is no longer a state sponsor of terrorism.
Really?
on his way out the door. And they told the workers at Social Security that they can work from home until 2029. And it's like all that stuff has got to be undone. And, we'll see how it happens. It's in the first term, in that first 100 days, You had a lot of people who are suing in court to block some of these actions, like the travel ban, and you had Obama judges who were basically ruling in favor. And and you had a lot of people on the inside. And I think that's the big problem. In 2016, 2017, Trump did not have a MAGA bench. So he had to rely on the Republican establishment in Washington, D.C. The Republican establishment in Washington, D.C. does not care about Trump, and it does not care about MAGA. It cares about getting their kid into Georgetown Prep. It cares about getting their wife a job as an airline lobbyist. Like, they certainly don't care about Donald Trump. And if it means restricting immigration, Washington establishment guys are like, well, wait a minute, who's going to mow my lawn? Who's going to babysit for my kids? Who's going to wash dishes at my favorite steakhouse? We need migrants. What are you, crazy? And so now there's the MAGA bench. And so you have people who have come into their political personality, their political consciousness. It's been 8 years since the Trump presidency was inaugurated. And so people who are 20 are now 28. People who are 32 are now 40. And so it's different now. And you can fill a cabinet with Trump loyalists.
How many executives?
Why was Rex Tillerson the Secretary of State? Why was Dan Coates the Director of National Intelligence, a guy who never – Dan Coates in 2018 as Trump's Director of National Intelligence signed a report that said Trump was elected by the Russians. It's like, thanks. I need do me some more favors, Dan Coates. That's what they complain about. Tulsi Gabbard, for all of her sins, is not going to go along with the Russian collusion hoax.
So Marco Rubio is no Rex Tillerson. That's for sure.
1,000%.
Did you see he was just fabulous in his confirmation hearing yesterday? Did you see any of that?
Yeah, and Marco Rubio, he's so smart. He's so funny. He's he's had some unfortunate things. There was one point against Obama he gave the rival State of the Union address, right? And in the middle of it, he went to get some water because his mouth was dry, and he held up his finger like this, as if he could pause live television, like the nation is watching. He says, "Hold one." Like,
hold.
What? You can't just.
I know.
This is a live address, Marco. He has recovered from that, and I think the dirty secret is he has become a very, very close friend of Trump's, and their wives sat together during the debates in 2016. So while they were fighting on stage in the green room, they were becoming friends, and in the stands, in the audience, their wives were becoming friends. Marco Rubio is solid with Trump.
Yeah, and it's interesting you point this out. Trump 1.0, January 2017, so very different 8 years later. Trump 2.0, he's got a bench, he's got friendships, he's got relationships, and I would say this, the country is behind him in a way that's very different than it was in 2017.
And listen, I knew you in 2017, Michael, and you haven't aged a day.
I know, you're right. Nor have you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
We were working together. Go ahead.
I think it's absolutely significant when you look at the fact that Trump had a very difficult it was an easy path to the nomination in 2016, but there were some rough debates and rough times. And you look at Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, Marco Rubio, Ben Carson. These guys are in the cabinet. These guys are golfing with him. These guys have been the best of friends. And that tells you something about Trump as a person. And he isn't hung up on the past. Everything you've learned about Trump is bogus. He's a guy who doesn't hold grudges. And he's a guy who looks at the deal in front of him. He doesn't worry about the deal that happened yesterday. He doesn't worry about the deal that went down 10 years ago. He's saying, what is the deal in front of me now? And that's what people love about the guy. And he's so transparent. He's so authentic. And when the pundits go after him why are they going after him? They're basically saying, well, why doesn't he lie more? Like, why is he's only doing this thing because he promised it in the campaign? That's so absurd. Like, that's the worst reason to do a policy. And when he makes his mistakes, or when he sort of crosses the line, he's one of us. When I was writing for Boston's Catholic paper, Cardinal O'Malley, the Archbishop, used to always talk about St. Peter as his favorite apostle, because Peter was the apostle who kept screwing up. He was like us. And so he says everyone can relate to Peter because he's just a mess, but he never gives up. And that's Trump. He never gives up. He's one of us.
Okay, so he's a deal guy. He's the best deal guy in the world. His latest deal is he wants to acquire Greenland. And of course, you know, that poll I mentioned, 57% want to be part of Greenland. Is that going to work out, you think?
Yes. I don't know if in the end Greenland will become a territory of the United States.
That's what I'd like to see. But
it will be some kind of it may be some kind of protectorate or whatever it is, but it is so important, and Democrats will end up backing the Greenland deal, because not only is it the shipping lanes of the North Atlantic, which were so important during World War II and the convoys, but also the Arctic, and as the ice caps on the North Pole are shrinking, while the ice on the South Pole is expanding, right? So pick your poison. But the shipping lanes are opening up in the Arctic, and we need to get a handle on that quickly. And remember, China does not have territory in the Arctic Circle like other countries that have,
Russia does.
That are relatively northern.
China doesn't really. I think you're right. I think they've got this referendum coming up later this year to become independent of Denmark. I think that will pass, and I think you're right. And Denmark will end up being either an American protectorate or an American territory. A protectorate would leave its independence, but then the United States would take over the defense and foreign policy related to Greenland. And believe me, you want to talk about an economic boom? All of those, minerals that are up there. Their population is 57,000 now. When they become a protectorate or a territory, my guess is the population will probably double in 3 or 4 years.
Oh, 1,000%. And, Denmark has not really taken full advantage of Greenland. And Denmark has its own problems, frankly.
I mean, yeah, Denmark, how long did it take Denmark to surrender to Adolf Hitler in World War II? Was it 2 days or 3? I forget.
Sometime in the afternoon, I think. It was just because the main delay was they wanted to finish lunch. The other thing that's interesting about the Danes, however, is that after World War I, they were the only European country to pay us back our loans. And they did it where they went to the United States and they say, listen, we don't really have a lot of cash, but we can give you the Virgin Islands. And
that was a good deal.
So, all right, well, we'll take it. We'll take it.
We'll take it. Yeah. So give us Greenland after they declare independence.
It's interesting that they would have given us both Greenland and the Virgin Islands. And you got to wonder, when somebody's got to, frankly, I think the king should worry about making Denmark great again, because, they held some sway about 1,500 years ago, but really since then,
it's
not really.
Not at the top of the military.
It's the days of the Danelaw, Michael.
Yeah. Danelaw, yeah, back in England, yeah.
The Danelaw, Michael.
And on the Danelaw note, Neil W. McCabe, it is always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.
1,000%. Be good, Michael.
All right. Back with more after this. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. takes this special time to salute the Franklin men and women in uniform who've answered the call for our freedom. Let's give them the hero's welcome they deserve as they fought hard to restore peace around the world. American troops are our angels of protection, so stand up and salute them proudly. This message is courtesy of our good friends at Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road in Franklin. They're always working to keep our community moving in a positive direction. I want to say a few words about our friends at the Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road. The Nashville Pizza Company in Franklin reminds us that the current economic times have been tough on many families in our area, and many are finding it hard to make ends meet. Your donations of clothing or canned goods can make a difference for a family in need. During this holiday season, give from the heart so others can have a new start. That's courtesy of our friends at Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road in Franklin. They are always working to keep our community moving in a positive direction.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it. Believe me.
Hey there,
Impersonator not endorsed
founder
by Donald
and
Trump.
CEO of the Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. If you want to call in our number, 615-649-8477, 615-649-8477. Well, I want to hit right now a surprising voice, Chris Cuomo, who was fired at CNN, now is with News Nation. He took exception to the way Democrats were conducting their confirmation hearings of the various nominees, including Pete Hegseth. Here he is, clip 21, Cuomo roasting Democrat Senator from Virginia, Tim Kaine.
My opinion is we saw the enemy today at Pete Hegseth's Armed Services Committee hearing, and it's us. Not you, but the toxic game of division played by the people who we put in power. Let me ask you, what questions would you have for a potential Secretary of Defense? What are you going to do about China, Russia, terror, Pentagon size, drones? Or would your top concern be his marriage? Is your biggest fear that an army of trans folk are going to take over? Because those were the concerns that the most deliberative body in the world focused on today. Here is the moment that Democrats are choosing to send around the internet as their big win. Senator Tim Kaine giving Hegseth the Bill Clinton.
I want to return to the incident that you referenced a minute ago that occurred in Monterey, California in October 2017. At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
I believe so.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
Senator, I was falsely charged, fully investigated and completely cleared.
So you think you were completely cleared because you committed no crime? That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I assume that in each of your weddings, you've pledged to be faithful to your wife. You've taken an oath to do that, haven't you?
Senator, as I've acknowledged to everyone in this committee, not a perfect person, not claiming to be.
But no, I just asked a simple question. You've taken an oath like you would take an oath to be Secretary of Defense in all of your weddings to be faithful to your wife. Is that correct?
I have failed in things in my life, and thankfully I'm redeemed by my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
So because of his marriage, he can't be trusted with the oath of office? 2 points of disgust. How many people on that committee, how many in Congress could pass the Cain test that you can't honor an oath to serve if you've ever been unfaithful? Cain may be sitting in that room alone. Who cares when we are talking about being the top warrior, not our pastor?
There you go. And look, what is Chris Cuomo eating now? What is he drinking? He got a little dose of reality. He's much better at News Nation than he ever was at CNN. You have to agree with that completely. Now, Joe Biden delivered his farewell address last night. It was roundly, trashed as a partisan exercise. Scott Jennings on CNN had a terrific analysis of it. Here we have clip 12, Scott Jennings.
I think the way he's leaving office has been, frankly, pretty terrible. He's going to be remembered for a few things. But politically, it's mostly for when he was vice president, he and Obama sort of ushering in the Trump era initially. And then as he's leaving office as president, bringing back Trump and Trumpism stronger and more popular than ever. Today, Biden has like a 61% disapproval, and Trump is over a 50% approval and more popular, and his ideology is more popular than it's ever been. If everything you say is true, the Democrats should have had no trouble getting reelected in this election, yet they were.
It's an issue of a communication.
Okay, so there he's giving it to the CNN folks. Now, Biden, petulant, petty, combative, disconnected. That was his farewell address. But before that, he was asked a question about who gets credit for the hostage release deal between Hamas and Israel. This clip illustrates everything there is to know about Joe Biden. Here we go, clip 10.
Mr. President, what's your confidence that this deal will hold?
I'm confident. Thank you.
Books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
I mean, he looks around like a jerk. Is that a joke? Well, his own State Department spokesman said President Trump, the president-elect's team, deserves great credit for this deal. They said it, right? Then he makes no acknowledgement of it in that clip. And then his own press secretary, Cringe Jean-Pierre, as we've called her, well, I don't know that person at the State Department. He's part of your administration. I mean, we can't get Donald Trump in soon enough. I mean, now where are we? I'm counting, folks. 3 days, 23 hours, 21 minutes, and 30 seconds. Tick tock goes the clock. Now, Dana Perino on Fox News gave her analysis of this, and we'll see this in clip 11, her analysis of Joe Biden's speech.
Dana, are we looking at a failed presidency? This is a one-term guy. This is complete repudiation by the American people. 33% approval rating. Many people see this as a failure.
So you and I sit together every day on the 5, and you know that I try to be really nice. And I intended to find something that I could say, wow, that was great. So news of the day at the top, understandable. Big soaring attempt at a rhetorical push for unity. I'm like, okay, I'm following. And then, like, what in the world was he talking about? For example, when he talks about dark money, does he not remember that just last week he gave the Medal of Honor, a Medal of Freedom award to George Soros? he talked about the fact that they had the biggest economic rebound than ever. He never mentioned COVID, which was the entire premise of his presidency. Today, I looked at a poll. Britt mentioned our poll. There was another poll, the Gallup poll. They asked about 18 issues. Which ones are you feeling better about? Only 1 out of 18 did people feel better about, and it was gay, lesbians, and trans issues. So he's sitting there talking about all of these things that he's done, and I'm just like, this rings hollow. To me, it felt like the speechwriters have already left the building and that they asked ChatGPT to write a speech for Joe Biden in which he doesn't remember that he was president for the last 4 years. If you ask people, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? The answer is no, except for maybe the solar companies and the Delta smelt.
Look, I think Dana Perino, who was the final press secretary for George W. Bush, and I'm no fan of George W. Bush. And I've not been that much of a fan of Dana Perino. A lot of people like her. She's a nice person, but she's been more of a Bush apologist, I think, than anything else. But she's kind of that was a really good analysis, and she does try to be nice. Yeah, so I thought that was really good. Now, there is so much trouble on the left and among Democrats. Everything seems to be falling apart. Now, here's one thing that's kind of interesting. Speaking of falling apart, there is a rumor out there, not that we care all that much about it, but that there's trouble in the Hawaiian retirement paradise of Barack Obama and his wife, Michelle Obama. She's apparently not going to attend the inauguration. She also did not attend the funeral of Jimmy Carter. So there old Barack was hanging out next to Donald Trump, yucking it up. And Mark Halperin, who's, kind of a left of center guy, but not that much, and a pretty good reporter, who's got a really good program that he does on, I guess he calls it Way TV. Does it with Sean Spicer and some other Democrat whose name I forget, Dan Turrentine, I think is the guy. He was talking about Michelle Obama and her decision not to show up at the inauguration. Here we go, clip 21. Let's get that.
And then number 8, who won't be there, Michelle Obama. I don't know how Donald Trump feels about Michelle Obama not coming, but the symbolism of it, she's on the outside. She's unhappy with the result. These other people are coming and kissing Donald Trump's ring and butt. Again, to me, it's symbolic. Whatever reason she's not coming. It's symbolic of the failure of the Democratic Party here, January 14th, to have a coherent, unified notion of how they're going to deal with Donald Trump's presidency. I'm not saying he's going to get everything he wants, but if you look at this network of supporters that I've talked about, folks with successful podcasts, successful on social media, successful at political organizing. Again, Charlie Kirk is kind of a representative of this. He's this hybrid. He helped register people to vote and turn people out to vote. He also has a podcast, a video podcast. He also is in constant communication with MAGA, grassroots MAGA, Trump world, people on the Hill, his fellow influencers. It's an extraordinary asset. And as much as Trump had used Facebook in 16, he had a digital army of sorts in 20. This is different. This is a very sophisticated group of people. And again, they compete to be online. They compete to be up at all hours. And like some of them are on the West Coast or in Arizona. So they're on Pacific time to some extent. That means the people in the West and the East Coast have to stay up late because you got to be communicating with those folks, and then they got to get up early. There's no Democratic analog for this. There's lots of groups in the Democratic Party. They control dominant media. They have assets, but they don't have this. And this digital war room, which again was a big part of salvaging Hegseth and propelling him into today, is a big advantage.
Okay, now look, Mark Halperin is very insightful there, and I want to follow up on that a little bit because what he highlights here is, and it's kind of the theme I've been talking about all day. The Democrats are stuck in 2018. They haven't had an original thought since 2018, and they're doing the same old playbook, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. They haven't quite realized it. I think they're too ossified in their thinking to care about it. But what does that mean? It means the Democrats don't have a plan and they don't have a leader. When the other side is not pushing back in any effective way, this is the time to run through the line, run through the hole in the line, and get a lot of things done. So what does that mean? It means to me the next 100 days are it. The next 100 days, you're going to see well over 100 executive orders from Donald Trump. You're going to see him signing laws. You're going to see, by the end of January, I think every one of his major cabinet nominees will be confirmed. And we're going to see the beginning of the destruction of the deep state and the restoration of a classic American federalism. Amen to that. When we come back, folks, it'll be that time of day again. It'll be time for News Potpourri. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
CEO of Solti, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Solti, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Solti has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Solti for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Solti and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Solti, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Solti
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cell's Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back. It's that time of day again, folks. It's time for News Potpourri. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, News Potpourri. This is the portion of the program where we talk about those stories that are of note, don't necessarily merit a full segment, and may have a touch of irony. Well, this isn't really irony. This is getting it done. Congressman Mark Green from Tennessee's 7th Congressional District, right here in Middle Tennessee, has a proposal to bring American manufacturing back to the United States. We have a little clip of him talking about it. Here we go.
I Bring American Companies Home Act will further protect our supply chains from the Chinese Communist Party's influence. It's no secret that the Chinese Communist Party seeks to outpace the United States, oppress its own citizens, and sever America's global alliances. Instead of building up the economy of an oppressive regime, let's repair and strengthen our own.
I love that. And of course, you know, the Middle Tennessee congressional delegation have been really busy with good legislation. That proposal follows Andy Ogle's proposal to authorize money to purchase Greenland, make Greenland great again. I like the name of it, although great again or great? All right. Hey, here's one we've been talking about. I've been threatening. I've been threatening to send a letter to Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post, who's losing $100 million a year on that operation, with some ideas as to how he could fix it, turn things around. As they've become less left-wing loony, they've lost a number of subscribers, and their left-wing loony reporters don't like it. And here's the story now from Axios. Hundreds of Washington Post staffers have penned a letter to the owner, Jeff Bezos. Hundreds of staffers at the Washington Post sent a letter to the newspaper's owner, Jeff Bezos, on Wednesday, urging him to meet with them amid a confidence crisis with the leadership. Basically, yeah, in a weird way. I mean, he owns it. Well, he's paying them. We are deeply alarmed, they write, by recent leadership decisions that have led readers to question the integrity of this institution, broken with a tradition of transparency, and prompted some of our most distinguished colleagues to leave with more departures imminent. This goes far beyond the issue of the presidential endorsement, which we recognize as the owner's prerogative. They don't, but they say it. This is about retaining our competitive edge, restoring trust that has been lost, and reestablishing a relationship with leadership based on open communication. Okay, my letter to Jeff Bezos, which I haven't really put pen to paper or keyboard to computer on, would be, okay, face it, if you want to be a real newspaper that reports the news, all of the leftist hacks that write for you need to go, A. And B, you're going to lose probably 80% of your audience. And you're going to have to lose that and then build it back up. And the way you build it back up, here's what you do, Jeff. Ready? You got like 1,500 employees. You got to fire like 1,300 of them. And you got to hire like 300 actual on-the-ground reporters who will report on local news in Washington, D.C., and Maryland and Virginia. Honestly, you do national coverage, but, you know, you're going to lose 80% of your subscribers. Okay. But then you start reporting honestly about the Trump administration. That's the path, Jeff, and I hope you'll follow it, and I hope you'll follow my advice. But, you know, it's okay if you don't, because, you know, we've got the Virginia Star there. We're happy to take over if the Washington Post fails. All right. This is interesting. We've got a report here that there is bad blood between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I'm shocked. That's going on. And we also have going on today, there's a guest list of those who are going to be at the inauguration. It's a pretty good guest list. President Javier Milei from Argentina will be there, and several others that are sort of, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, who's got a close personal friendship with Elon Musk. Is that it? Okay. I think it's going to be a great inaugural event, don't you? Also, one last thing, for those of you who are interested, Stephen K. Bannon's party tonight in Washington, D.C., to which everyone here is invited, has added another 100 spaces. They've been oversubscribed. It's going to be on Capitol Hill. I'm pretty sure it's going to be at a restaurant there that is partially owned by our friend Raheem Kassam. It's just right up there on Capitol Hill. It's called Butterworth. I'm pretty sure that's where it's going to be. Go to warroom.org, warroom.org if you'd like, and you can see there how to sign up and get a ticket. Now, I know if you're listening to us in Northern Virginia, you could probably make it. If you're listening to us, elsewhere, probably not so much. Oh, here's a report. Interesting. J.D. Vance. I love this. Another from German-owned Politico. J.D. Vance is holding a fundraiser for the inauguration, which is, by the way, raising a huge amount of money. Guess how much it's going to cost? It's going to be in Palm Beach. I think it'll be at Mar-a-Lago. Oh, no, it's at the French restaurant, Le Bilboquet. How much do you think it costs to get into that fundraiser? $250,000. What do I think? I think it's going to be oversubscribed. It's going to be oversubscribed because people out there realize there's a new day in America. It is a golden age about to come upon our country, and it can't happen a minute too soon. In fact, it's going to happen in 3 days, 23 hours, 2 minutes, and 35 seconds. I can't wait. All right. Thanks for joining us today. Look at all our stories at TennesseeStar.com. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Central Time. Up next, Rob Carson. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
I'm Governor Bill Lee, and I want to talk to you about an important education bill in Tennessee. Everyone knows that education has the power to change the trajectory of a child's life forever. And anyone who's raised a child knows that each one's different in their educational needs, and their learning styles, and their talents. The fact is, parents know their own children best. They know what's best for their education and their future. That's why I'm here to talk to you about Tennessee's Education Freedom Act. It empowers parents across our state to use their tax dollars to choose the school that allows their child to thrive, regardless of zip code or income, all while making significant investments in Tennessee's public education. If you want to learn how you can help make the Education Freedom Act a reality in Tennessee, go to educationfreedomact.com and write or call your state representatives. It's educationfreedomact.com.
This ad is
The
paid
Chief
for by
Team
Job
reminds
Creators
listeners
Network.
here that more and more veterans will be returning home over the next few years, and many are local. These heroes have elite military training and valuable professional skills, but they also need jobs too. That's why the Chief Team is encouraging all local businesses. Let's make it the year we hire smart and hire veterans. That's from the Chief Team, where they say service isn't just a courtesy, it's a commitment. For more information, call 931-444-3572. That's 931-444-3572 for the Chief Team in Clarksville.
The Black preaching tradition is deeply connected to gospel music.
PBS presents a new series hosted by Henry Louis Gates Jr., Gospel.
Our singers preach and our preachers sing.
Gospel is a prayer. It is our heart's cry to God in lyrics and song.
You feel it deep down in your soul.
Gospel. Streaming now on the PBS app.